Hi, I'm Matt Collins. I'd like to welcome you to Bob Weber Auto Mart on Douglas Avenue here in Racine, across from Douglas Park. We specialize in 1-year-old, low mileage, almost new cars. And if you'd like to stop by and see them, or see them on our website, bobweberautomart.com, we could save you between $5,000 and $10,000 on your next almost new car purchase.
Welcome back to another edition of Sports Junkies. My name is Gery Woelfel, former 5'9" point guard for the Chilton Tigers. And to the left of me is Jim McIlvaine. Is it 7 foot? 7'1"?
7'1".
Was that with shoes or without shoes?
That was without shoes at the combine.
Without shoes, 7 foot?
7'1".
7'1". So with shoes, you're talking 7'2"?
Depends on the shoes.
No kidding.
Yeah.
All these years, I didn't know that.
That's how they measure you at the combine. Nobody wears shoes.
Yeah, but I mean, in the listing, you were always listed in NBA guides 7 foot, right?
7'1". It's all right.
Wow, 7'2".
You can't pay attention to everything.
Exactly.
Right?
But anyways,
things
you used to be a 7'1" center at St. Catherine's High School, Marquette University, 7-year NBA pro career. And you've been out of the game for 13 years. Do you miss it?
I miss the paychecks. Those were really nice.
That's a good reason to miss the league.
The thing I think I miss most besides that is the physical contact, because you can do things to other people that you can't do anywhere else without getting arrested or sued.
You know what? Did you watch the Milwaukee Bucks game last night? Ersan Ilyasova and Reggie Evans?
I missed it.
And I think anybody that follows the NBA knows that Reggie Evans isn't a choir boy.
Okay.
And after a while, Ersan had enough and took a couple shots at him below the belt.
Yeah, and I'm not talking about cheap shots or fisticuffs or anything, because I never got a technical. I never got in a fight.
You never got one technical?
I think I got a technical it was the stupidest technical in the world.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Because it was when they were calling illegal defenses.
Yeah, okay.
And I had to be above the foul line.
Right.
Remember that?
Yeah.
Sean Bradley's out on the right wing. Sean Bradley drops below the foul line, and I didn't see him go, and so I'm standing above the foul line. They called illegal defense on me.
But that technical isn't you. I think that's a team technical.
Yeah, it is.
Right?
But it was my fault, and I'm like, how's it a technical? I lost my man, and he went down there, and it doesn't benefit me to stand above the foul line when my guy's close to the basket, and the ref just blew it and called it technical. So.
Yeah. Since you left the game, there's been a lot of changes.
Yeah.
No hand checking, right?
Yeah.
That was
in theory, yes. They changed that rule in college too. I haven't really seen.
Yeah, right, exactly.
That enforced that well.
I'm trying to think what else has changed from a technical standpoint, but the hand checking has really changed the game.
It doesn't impact the big guys though.
No, but I mean the guards have taken over.
Yeah.
I mean the guards can get to the basket whenever they want now. It's such a joke. In fact, the other day Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was in Milwaukee, and he took a rip at LeBron, and he's saying, well, LeBron's playing in an area now where there's no hand checking. He can get to the basket, and then Kareem gets up and he goes, when we played basketball, you had to go like this. Now when you play basketball, you can go like this and this.
Yeah, you know what? Every time I hear a retired player comment about how the game was pure back then, and how they were much more fundamentally sound. When I was with Seattle, Bob Weiss put in a tape.
Sure. And
didn't Bob Weiss play with
He did. He did, and he played with the Bucks for a brief time.
Was Billy Cunningham on that team?
With the 76ers,
yeah. So he puts in a tape of the 76ers with him and Cunningham brings the ball up the floor on the right-hand side, wants to go over to the left-hand side, doesn't dribble with his left hand, like back to the basket, 40 feet away, still dribbling with the right hand to go to the other side of the basket. And,
no kidding.
Yeah, because he wasn't using his left hand. So I don't buy the theory that the kids today aren't as fundamentally sound. I think there's some that probably could be even better if they had a better skill set. But I think the players today are every bit as talented, and they're not doing the Kareem skyhook. I wish they would. But I don't know that you can get away with it.
Which is absolutely incredible, because I've asked Kareem this before. Why nobody would teach big men to shoot the sky hook, especially down low? I mean, for the most part, the sky hook's only going to be 4 or 5 feet away from the basket. Yeah. It's an unstoppable shot.
It's an unstoppable shot, except one of those.
Yeah, right.
And you've got to get used to that. And Kareem got used to it, but when you go off to take a hook shot and 1 foot is your base,
planted, sure,
it's a lot harder for you to keep your balance. And he got really good at getting hit, and when you get hit, it's more exaggerated, and they call the foul. He got to the line a lot. But you'll see a lot of guys that'll take jump hooks, but you've got a solid base because everybody's so much bigger and more physical and stronger, and they let you get away with a lot. I mean, again, you watch those games back in the 60s, it's, you know, they're not hitting people and bouncing around in the lane like they do today.
Yeah, you know, one of the biggest differences between the time you played and even before that to today is the dearth of centers in the NBA. I mean, there's good centers, but there aren't great centers.
Yeah.
You take away Dwight Howard, and where do you go from there?
Chris Kaman. What about Chris Kaman? Why isn't
Chris Kaman
get Chris Kaman anymore?
Exactly. I mean, even
Kevin Love.
But he's a power forward. I mean,
Yeah.
he plays center. But I'm just saying, everybody says basketball's better today. It's not better today. It's a different type of game.
It's different.
Yeah,
I guess
absolutely.
it's subjective as to whether it's better.
But
or
I mean,
not.
you go back and you see Kareem. To this day, I have not seen a center as fundamentally sound as Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. He could have played guard. I mean, he could handle the ball. He could pass the ball. His court vision was great. Olajuwon came along. Shaq came along. Shaq was just a pure physical dominance.
Yeah.
I never saw a guy that was a technician on the court.
I thought Hakeem was pretty skilled. And
Absolutely.
could play a lot of different
absolutely.
positions. I think Tim Duncan's pretty skilled, but
Tim
doesn't really
Duncan.
play the center spot
Correct.
that much. David Robinson was pretty good. But those are all guys from my era.
Exactly, but
the game is different now.
Yeah.
And they bring, you know, it's becoming, I think, maybe more specialized. They're bringing guys in to do certain things and perform certain functions for a team. And I guess teams have always gravitated to what works. And when Pat Riley's teams were winning with defense and they had the showtime and all that, everybody wanted to be more defensive minded, and they moved in that direction. So whenever LeBron James and the Heat go out and start dominating, and it's not necessarily the coaches or the general managers that are driving this, I think. I think it's the owners.
Yeah.
Because theirs is maybe a more simplistic view unless they're really dialed into the game.
Sure.
They say, ooh, I like what they do.
Right.
Give me a couple of those guys and do what they do. Do what they do. And so I think to some extent probably already happens with some ownership and coaches and general managers. I want to play more like the Miami Heat.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
Not a problem.
Get
Let's go
LeBron
on.
and you
Let's
can
go
play
on.
like Miami.
No. Let me change that. I want to play more like the Miami Heat, but I don't want to spend that kind of money and get those kind of players. But I want you to find me.
There you go. Now we're going to segue into.
Yeah. I want you to find me somebody that's good enough, that's good like LeBron, and I don't have to pay a lot of money to that plays like the Miami Heat, so we can win a championship. And so you probably get some coaches and GMs that come back and say, we put in the Miami Heat offense this year. Great. That's exactly what I wanted. And they don't know the difference. They could be running Tex Winter's triangle offense, and
Right.
and the owner doesn't know as long as he's being
Tex
told.
Winter. You know,
that-
he used to coach at Marquette.
I do know that.
Yeah, there you go. I'm impressed. You know,
That was pre-Eddie Hickey, wasn't it?
absolutely
Yeah.
back in 1952, I think.
Yep.
But anyways, a couple of years ago, I talked to you about Kobe Bryant, and we were talking about salaries in the NBA. And to the average fan or average person like myself, I look at his contract, and I think Kobe's getting somewhere around $30 million now this year, 28, whatever it is. And you made a comment. He goes, "Well, he probably isn't paid enough."
Yeah.
And you know what? That hit me because you're right. I mean, if people see the big picture, if they know all the inner workings, behind the scenes stuff, how much these franchises are making, how much the NBA is making, he probably isn't making. He should be making more.
Yeah, he probably should be. But I think there's that understanding, and I heard it when Kobe commented about his most recent contract extension, and he said,
Yeah.
are you really going to be worth this for the rest of the contract? And he kind of conceded that part of this is probably for services already rendered.
Sure.
Because there are limits to how much you can pay a guy in the NBA. And when guys are at that level that Kobe Bryant, and only a couple players are there, LeBron James, guys like that, Blake Griffin, teams are not going to be allowed to pay them the true value of what they bring not only to the franchise but to the NBA in general. I mean, these are the guys on the video game boxes. These are the guys that, you know, are when you travel around the world to these remote corners of the earth, you're going to see a kid wearing a Kobe Bryant jersey. You know, they can speak 5 words in English and they know Kobe Bryant.
Cool.
You know, they know Michael Jordan like they used to know Michael Jordan. That's how transcendent these guys are, and why they're worth, I think more than they'll ever be paid in terms of NBA salary.
What do you think LeBron James? I mean, if you were saying, okay, no salary cap, what would you pay LeBron James? Or what you think he should be paid? I mean, there's no doubt about it. He's the face of the NBA today.
Yeah, I guess it's where do you draw the line?
Because, but I mean, you've seen how much these teams are making. You've seen how much the NBA is making. I mean, LeBron James is, like I said, is the face of the NBA.
I don't think they'd lose money on him if they paid him $50 million a year.
$50 million.
Yeah, I think he brings more than that in value in terms of when the Heat travel around to all these different NBA cities and play 41 road games.
Right.
I think just maybe even in ticket sales, compared to what they might see against like the Sixers,
right,
you're going to see a boost of probably close to $50 million. And I haven't run the math, so I could be totally wrong about this. But if the Miami Heat go around and sell out NBA arenas like rock stars, like the Bulls did when I was in the league, that brings a lot of value to the league and the other franchises.
Hey, I'd pay big bucks to see Will Purdue.
Yeah, and that doesn't even factor in TV ratings when he's on TV. It doesn't factor in how valuable the NBA is as a property to advertisers when they want to sponsor something. I was watching The Prophet with Marcus Lemonis last night.
Okay.
That's why I didn't watch the Bucks game, by the way, because Marcus Lemonis.
I think he made the right call.
College classmate of mine at Marquette University.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Wow, nice.
And he's the CEO of Camping World RV. But he's got this show on CNBC, The Prophet. So he's at this meatpacking place in Brooklyn. And Brooklyn Burgers is the official burger of the Nets, the Mets, and the Yankees.
There you go. They got
costs them $400,000 a year to be the official burger.
Oh,
that's
Lord.
one sponsor for one NBA, and then the NBA portion of it, I think they said on the show was either $140,000 or $180,000 a year to be the official burger in that arena.
Right.
So when you talk about $50 million, you multiply one sponsor like that just in the arenas, that really adds up quickly when you cut across 20-some NBA teams.
And if I'm not mistaken, I think LeBron's salary is somewhere around $18 million this year. Somewhere in that ballpark.
So that's a lot of burgers, but I mean that's another angle of it. TV revenue and all the stuff that we get money for in group licensing. That most of the guys really everybody gets paid group licensing money, but it's really the guys that like Kobe and LeBron and Dwayne Wade that earn that for everybody.
Exactly. Two topics I want to talk to you about. Having been a player, having been close to the NBA. One is PEDS, Major League Baseball. The National Football League, they're cracking down in PEDS. We saw what happened to Ryan Braun, for instance, with the Brewers.
That's performance-enhancing drugs for those who aren't sure what PEDs are.
And I have had the utmost respect for David Stern. I mean, I saw an NBA that was basically in poverty when he took it and took it to the penthouse when he left. But he has kept his head in the sand when it comes to PEDS and drug-related issues.
I don't know. I mean,
you don't? I mean, the NBA is the only sport that's behind they're lagging way behind the other two.
I don't know if it's that big of a difference maker in the NBA, and I don't know that it ever has been. When I was in the league, marijuana was added as a banned substance.
Right.
It wasn't a banned substance before, and I've had trainers in the NBA tell me, marijuana is not the worst thing in the world, because when you play an 82-game schedule and your body starts to get worn down, if a guy goes on the road and he goes to the hotel room and he smokes a joint, and this is coming from a person who abhors drug use. I don't condone it in any way. I don't think people should use drugs, but the reality is some people do.
Oh, absolutely. There's no question. Every segment of life. Yeah.
So, an NBA player has a couple different choices for what he's going to do when he gets to Santa Monica, California to play against the Lakers and the Clippers. And if he makes the choice to smoke a joint, he's probably going to get hungry. So then he's going to order.
I've seen a few NBA players put on pounds over the years.
So he's going to order room service. He's going to get a good meal in his stomach.
Right.
He's going to get tired. He's going to go to sleep, and his body's going to get some rest.
Yeah.
And the alternative for some of those guys, not all of them, I'm not saying it's one or the other. The alternative is I'm going to go rent a limousine. I'm going to go to clubs.
Right.
And I'm going to stay out all night and party like a maniac and bring somebody back to the room and kick them out a half hour before I have to leave for shoot around the next day, and I'm not going to get a good night's rest, and then my body's going to be worn down even further for the next game. So by that logic, and there's quite a bit of truth to it, I think that trainer has a point that it's probably not the worst thing if a guy gets a full meal in his stomach and falls asleep at 8:30 on a Saturday night and he's got a Sunday afternoon game. So cocaine and heroin, I think, were the two banned substances. Don't quote me on that, but I think they were the two banned substances when I first got in the league. And then when we went through collective bargaining, we added more. And look, I was the first guy to say, you know what? Yeah, ban marijuana, because if you kick everybody out of this league that smokes marijuana, I'm going to make a lot of money because there's not going to be anybody left. Hardly.
I love that.
So I was never one of the guys saying, no, don't include. Put it. But I was one of the guys that said, don't you dare put anything in there that you can buy legally at a GNC.
Absolutely.
Because you're talking about
no
NBA
question.
players, not rocket scientists or brain surgeons. And I remember when Tom Gugliotta had an incident in the back of the team bus. He had mixed some kind of something or other.
Right.
And it changed when it got into his body.
Right.
And he had an issue, and they're like, well, we got to ban that. And there was this immediate knee-jerk reaction. So, well, you know, guys are going to put things into their bodies, whether you ban them or not, that they don't understand. I don't think it makes sense to have a laundry list of items that are banned substances.
But you know what, though? I'm not going to name names, but I could name you 10 NBA players, in my opinion, who are on something.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at them physically, structurally, they have an advantage, whether it's in the post.
I don't know that they do.
You don't think so?
No.
See, I mean, in other sports, obviously these people believe that they do have an advantage by taking them.
I think it's more important in other sports, and I know baseball guys talk about injury recovery, and maybe there's some truth to that. But
don't you think that applies to the NBA?
I think there's more of a difference that can be made in terms of how the teams want to manage injuries. When I went to Seattle, they had their own hyperbaric chamber, a little capsule that you get into, and you just hang out in there and watch movies until you're healthy. And it oxygenates your blood and speeds up the healing process. Yeah. And then you go to other teams, and I'm not going to name names. You can read the Washington Post story on that team if you want to and see how poorly it was run. But there's other teams that just don't have that level of commitment or investment in rehabbing players from injuries. You know, I played on teams that had massage therapists that were on staff that traveled with the teams.
Sure.
I had teams that, you know what, if you want to get a massage, you pay for it, you make your own time, you go find them, whatever. You know, you got to make it easy for guys to take care of their bodies.
No question.
And I think that would have a far more reaching impact.
And you think these teams would want to make that investment because they're making major investments in you.
Can't help the club when you're in the tub, right? So
there's the headline for this video.
that was the mantra that I live by. You can't help the club if you're in the tub. You want to be available and ready to play all the time. But I think the strength that a lot of people get from performance-enhancing drugs isn't as important in the NBA as it is in football, as it is when you're trying to crack a home run and get an extra 50 feet out of it or whatever.
Sure.
And the quickness. You know, my wife played with Marion Jones.
That's quickness.
Before she was doing any of that stuff.
Yeah.
And she never believed that she did any of it because she played with her. She's like, she's quicker than everybody else out there by not like a little, by a lot. I think the ACC did a promotion. If you could beat, she was dribbling down the court and back. And if you could beat her just running at the same time, they'd give you free tickets to the ACC tournament. I don't know if they gave away many tickets, and that was guys or girls.
That's awesome.
Yeah, people like that who are elite, world-class athletes, you know, maybe it's a tenth of a second, but you know, it's a tenth of a second against another guy who might be, you know, right there with you either way. So
you know, Adam Silver, the new NBA commissioner, came out the other day, and he really downplayed it. I mean, even more than you, saying it's not an issue. And he said it's not widespread or rampant. Okay, that's well and good, but just make a fair field for everybody, even if there's only 5 or 10 guys. You know. You
know the only guy I ever heard in the NBA who confessed to using steroids, Chuck Nevitt. Okay, because the guy wanted to put weight on.
Chuck Nevitt was 7'5", I think.
Yeah, something like that.
And about 110 pounds.
Yeah, it made Sean Bradley look like a muscle man. So,
and he was on something.
What's that?
I don't.
He said I read a story one time where I think he said I tried steroids because I was doing anything I could to put weight on. And I just couldn't put weight on. So, you know You don't hear the stories about it.
Sure.
You don't see issues with it. You know,
Well, there's a lot of pressure on pro players, though, to maintain
about this.
or improve their standards, right?
For all these things that have come out and all the, Victor Conte this, and have NBA players ever been cited in any of that stuff?
But I think, you know what, the NBA has done a good job of keeping it in-house. I think they've had a lot of issues over the years.
But they're, with all the people and all the drama and everything that's been out there, there should have been NBA players caught up in
absolutely.
that.
Absolutely.
If it was rampant and ongoing. It's
just, sure.
It's just not that big. The thing that concerns me as a player is you put anything with Fed on there, and you're going to wreck this team because guys get sick. They need to take Sudafed to clear up their sinuses.
Right.
And that was the way it was in college. Because Sudafed and Actifed and all that stuff, you get a cold and you have to stop taking cold medicine like January and then just fight your way through it, and it hurts you. And it's not the intent of the rule, but that's what the NCAA is. And the other thing is the caffeine. And I've never sat in an NBA locker room that didn't have at least, a Greg Anthony or a Dale Ellis drinking coffee before the game. That's just what NBA guys do.
Well, I don't want to interrupt you, Jim, but you're talking about halftime drinking coffee. Vlade Divac.
Smoking cigarettes.
That, you beat me to the punch. I heard it's legendary. He'd go in at halftime and start puffing away.
Smoking cigarettes.
They couldn't do that today, could they?
I'm sure there's guys in Europe that are doing that right now.
But in the NBA, I haven't heard of anybody.
If one of those guys in Europe was good enough to come over and play, it's just a different era. In Vladdy's era, when he grew up, everybody smoked. But back to the point about the caffeine and the Sudafed and Actifed, all that stuff is banned in college. They warn you coming into the NCAA tournament, you can't drink too much soda because it'll set off a drug test and you'll get pinged, and so you can't. And I went into a practice arena or practice gym in an NBA arena. Maybe it was Washington Bullet or Wizards a couple of years ago. And we were in the tournament there, and they show the list of performance-enhancing drugs. It's a mile long, and of all the banned substances, it's like you want to ban cocaine and heroin and all the other illicit, illegal drugs. Do that, but don't ban cold medicine. If these guys wanted to get jacked up on caffeine,
so be it. Yeah.
There's people in this building jacked up on caffeine right now.
No,
there's one guy right behind the camera who is. So, if it's okay for everybody else, let these guys do it. It's not like
that guy is Greg Geeson, but we won't name names. But anyway, hey, quickly before we wrap this up, the other hot topic these days is tanking, and for good reason. It's one of the best NBA draft classes probably in the last 10 years.
We'll see.
Yeah, and I agree. I'm with you on that. I think it's overrated, number one. But having said that, there are definitely teams tanking. I was told there was one team this summer that interviewed coaches, potential free agents, and they told them flat out, we're not out to win this year. Right. I mean, even before the season started, okay? Now we get into the season, and everybody has seen the Milwaukee Bucks. They're not going to publicly say they're not tanking, but obviously they are. That's my opinion. You go to Philadelphia, I don't think anybody can question, not that the players are tanking or the coaches are tanking, management is tanking. They made these moves to get rid of their best players. They basically gutted their roster. Philadelphia, in my mind, is the worst team I've seen maybe in 15 years.
I want to go see them play just to see what that team looks like because I haven't seen them play all season, but it just blows my mind that they can be as bad as everybody's saying they
Jim, they lost to the Golden State Warriors by 34 points. They lost to the Clippers by 35 points. The Milwaukee Bucks blew them out.
Yeah, I
know. But having said that now, were you ever in a situation, were you ever on a team that was tanking, or you saw a team that you knew flat out was tanking?
I was certainly on teams that people could have accused of tanking.
Yeah.
But we did it so early in the season, I don't know what sense
right from the get-go.
Yeah, we were tanking from day one.
You care to name which team that was or not?
Oh, I mean, it wasn't the Sonics.
No, it wasn't. That eliminates,
it.
It's down to Washington, New Jersey.
But every team I was on, regardless of our record, guys are selfish, at the end of the day. And even if you're not going to make the playoffs, there's individuals on each team whose contracts are coming up.
Sure.
And they want to look good. And so that was always my motivation. If we were out of the playoff picture, And Brent Price is a free agent. Tim Legg was a free agent. Mitchell Butler's a free agent. I want to do whatever I can to make my teammates look good. And if you're doing that, they're probably doing well. And if they're doing well, your team's probably doing well and winning some games. And we did that down the stretch on with some of these teams that I played on, where we were out of the playoff picture, but we didn't give up. Mm-hmm. We went out and we were wrecking other people's playoff pictures and making our guys look better, because it's important. You're always finding that motivation to go out and win games. And you may be right that general managers or front office folks may try to limit what the coaches and the players do, but I've never been around a coach or a player who had the mentality that I don't want to win this game, because coaches are the same way. They're selfish. They know that even though we're tanking, these losses are going to end up on my record, and
absolutely.
I'm going to get fired from this job someday, wherever it is.
Sure.
And I don't want people to say that guy was the coach of the worst NBA team ever. And I don't want to, my overall record's close to 500. I don't want to take all these hits and all these losses and make my overall coaching winning percentage drop off. So, it's got to come from people who don't have that same motivation, because nobody remembers, oh yeah, he was the GM. He put together the worst team that was ever in NBA history.
Jim McIlvaine, you never tank in giving us your opinions. We appreciate it. It was a great segment. And thanks for joining us. See you next time.